Hunger is an issue for all of America. It's urban and it's rural. It's in cities and it's in townships. It is simply a shameful truth in America that we have this fact around individuals seeking food assistance. We're the wealthiest nation, well-resourced. It is a solvable problem. It's not a mystery. You know, the answer to hunger is food, but it's also jobs, housing, healthcare. Those are critical pieces to the puzzle. We could get into a philosophical discussion about fighting hunger, eradicating it, ending it completely. But in the United States, 1 out of every 11 Americans seeks their food through a pantry, soup kitchen, or shelter. When we think of individuals needing food assistance, it's a much broader issue relative to poverty. So it is a hunger issue, but often as the result of a bad break, a loss of a job, an illness, a death in a family, some life-changing experience that's happened to an individual. For some folks, they're born into poverty, and for others, they're struggling to stay out of it. And the narrow risk, or the risk today, is very acute in terms of when and where an individual might find themselves needing to go to a soup kitchen or a pantry for their food. It is a national epidemic when you have over 35 million Americans in poverty alone. And then in Massachusetts, we are feeding about 114,000 people a week. I mean, there's not much distance between those that have and those that don't. And in some cases, it might be the job is the difference, or a few checks, or a certain kind of housing. And, if we take the elderly, for example, an elder today couldn't rebuy that home they live in. So if you bought a home for $100,000, now it's worth $200,000. Great, but I can't go out and buy another $200,000 home. So I'm going to stay where I am, and I have to stay here and utilize the resources that I have. For the Greater Boston Food Bank, almost 80% of who we serve have a home to go to. That's often a mistaken assumption that all hungry people are homeless, when in fact all homeless people are hungry, but not all hungry people are homeless. Less than 20% of who we serve are homeless. So these are folks that rent, that work, that go to school. There's also those that have much less than that. On average, our clients are about $10,000 a year in income. So you can be working way above minimum wage in New England, but still having a very difficult time to walk into a food pantry and say, "Hi, I need help. I'm not able, for whatever reason, to provide for myself, and even more so, I'm not able to provide for my family and my children." Very difficult position for any American to find themselves in. Often the word food bank and food pantry are used interchangeably, and for those of us that work in food banking, it's a very specific difference. And the food pantry is the place where an individual will go to actually get a box of food. The food bank, we're the supplier of the product. And we might be 10% of a food pantry's supply, we might be 100%. Each food pantry has its own community that it lives and works in and supplies resources to. The Greater Boston Food Bank and our New England Food Bank colleagues all rely on 3 items to make our system go, or to help us achieve our mission, which is to help end hunger. That's food, money, and then time. So on the food side, if you are a company that is in the food industry, that's probably the easiest way to make the connect. The money part is pretty broad, so it's it's very easy, I should say, to write the check versus the action of the food or the action of time. It's the simplest, because much of us don't have time, or we don't know where to get the food. The last is volunteering, and many, if not all, the food banks rely on volunteers, people that come to help, and that can give you 4 hours of time or 2 hours of time. And that ranges from sorting food in the physical plant of the warehouse to helping support a variety of other activities. In New England, we have many, many food companies that are very generous in terms of what they do. And one of the reasons why their generosity perhaps comes more to the food bank versus hundreds of other programs is we provide a one-stop location for them. So companies like Stop and Shop, Shaw's, Roach Brothers, Trader Joe's, Gorelick Farms, Walmart, these companies all give directly to the food banks. In New England, we have 9 food banks that serve the New England states, of which the Greater Boston Food Bank is the largest of that footprint. And together we serve hundreds and hundreds of organizations. Boston alone is over 600 organizations that are able to come to this warehouse on a regular weekly basis and get the food that they need for distribution at their pantry, soup kitchen, or shelter out. And that's true for New England. Food is a person-to-person business, whether you and I are just sitting down having a cup of coffee and a piece of cake, or whether we're having lunch at a restaurant, or whether it's your mother cooking the family meal, or whether you're going to the grocery store to buy it, or retailers purchasing from wholesalers and growers, or all the way back to growing it. It's all about the people. And it's partly why hunger, I believe, is a very heartful issue for people, because we all touch it. We all touch food in some way or another. We believe that everyone has a role in ending hunger. So again, it can be giving a lot of food, a little of food, a big check, a little check, lots of time, little bits of time. And in any way that viewers feel that they can plug in, it does all add up.